can feel it coming. It's on my fingertips. I'm riding, I'm running, too gone to lose my grip. And all the evil that surrounds me only stokes my burning flame. And I profess to you profoundly, I'll never let you forget my name. 'Cause I'm working on something. I'm working on something. I'm working on something, 'cause something's working on me. My pride is painful, such a heavy price I paid. Then I see my angels, and I know I won't be swayed. And all the love that surrounds me only feeds my hungry heart. And I profess to you profoundly, I'm gonna get there if it tears me apart. 'Cause I'm working on something. I'm working on something. I'm working on something, 'cause something's working on me. The wonder that surrounds me only soothes my weary soul. And I profess to you profoundly, I'll keep living until it takes its toll. 'Cause I'm working on something. I'm working on something. I'm working on something, 'cause something's working on me. Thank you very much.
It brings me immense pleasure to welcome to CKUA, to the Beresh Arts Den, the brilliant Steve Marriner. How about it for Steve Marriner?
Thank you, Grant. Thanks, everybody.
It feels so good. I have the brand new album in my hand right now, which technically is not even out yet. So this is some kind of like contraband or something, but I'm so excited. And I even like ran right up to the studio, pulled the shrink wrap off, and like blazed through all the tracks on it already. It's beautiful. So good. And I guess we're going to be hearing some of that music tonight, which I'm pretty excited about. Steve Marriner has been coming to Edmonton for a long time. Of course, he's well loved all around the world. But boy, Edmonton has been a kind of second musical home for you for a while. Feel like you were maybe 16 the first time you came through?
Yeah, I think that's true. We were talking about it today as we rolled into town. I was reminiscing of my first venture into the commercial hotel Blues on White. I was 16 years old, and my father had to accompany me on that trip. And subsequently, I think 1 year after that, I came back out and I was 17, and I had a letter of permission from then Premier Ralph Klein that allowed me to perform in the space so long as I didn't consume any alcohol.
You've always had friends in high places. That's incredible. And for those that haven't necessarily been, let's say near nightly customers of the commercial hotel for decades, as I once was before I started doing a morning show, what was the experience like for a 16-year-old playing six-nighters, playing 3 one-hour sets a night, and the Saturday jam, playing Monday through Saturday at the Blues on White in the commercial hotel? What was that experience like for you?
Well, I had a lot more energy then. But, it was really wonderful because I was so excited to be in Alberta, so far from home in Ontario. And, the reputation of that venue had preceded it. And so many great touring blues bands had been there. So I was just excited to be part of that. And at a time, when I was 16, 17, I couldn't play long enough. I couldn't get enough music. So I was quite happy to do those long shifts. And it was so beneficial for me as a performer, as a developing young performer, to get the kind of experience. And, typically the front end of the week would be pretty dead. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, there wouldn't be that many people there, and which can be, crushing. And so to learn how to work through that and still put on a show for the folks who were there, that was a big developmental piece for me. Wow. So I really cherish those times, and I feel like they made me a better performer, because you learn to give the same show to 10 people as you do to 100.
Wow, that's fascinating.
And, the weekends were all pretty rowdy, so it was a lot of fun. It was a really great time in my life.
It would build from like the occasional customer on the Monday all the way like steady build until by Saturday night at 2 a.m. It's like a full-on riot.
Oh, for sure. And the funny thing to me was the mix of demographics. You'd have like rowdy college kids and bikers.
Right.
And like everything in between, but mostly those two groups, So it was like at any time, we've definitely witnessed some dust ups happening in the back, and just keep playing, boys. So I mean, it was a real cultural experience.
Yeah,
for sure.
Real apprenticeship too, as you say. You kind of get your 10,000 hours in
for sure
as a real youngster too, and it's interesting for me to note as well that I think, unless I have this story mixed up, and please do correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that an Edmonton-born artist maybe played the most pivotal role in the Steve Marriner musical journey by putting you on this path. And I'm talking about the one and only Michael J. Fox.
That's true. Okay. I was like, I haven't met him yet. It took me a second to connect the dots. Yes, it's true. So, when I was much younger, under 10, let's say, I was big into films, like movies, not like artsy films. I like movies, Ace Ventura, things like that. I was a kid in the 90s. I was born in 84. So by the time the early 90s came around, I was watching a lot of movies. And I always had a keen ear. I liked to do impressions when I was a kid. I would impersonate the things that I saw. Then Back to the Future. My brother showed me Back to the Future. And that famous scene in the first Back to the Future movie where he's Michael J. Fox's character Marty McFly's traveled back to 1955, and he's at a high school dance where he sits in with the band and plays electric guitar and plays Johnny Be Good, and that scene changed my life, honestly. And it sounds funny, but it's true. From that moment on, I would keep rewinding that scene on the movie, and then finally I got my parents to dub me a cassette tape of, Johnny Be Good front to back, both sides, like just 8 times in a row on each side, and I would just run around the house. And so my father thought maybe he should show me some other kind of rock and roll, so he would show me like Eddie Cochran and Elvis Presley stuff, and then I started learning about Chess Records, because that's where Chuck Berry's music came from.
Right.
And then I found out about Howlin' Wolf, Muddy Waters, Little Walter, and then a little later on, the Blues Brothers movie had a huge impact on me as well. I started doing more research specifically into Chicago blues.
Right.
This all sounds so academic.
Horton.
I was 10, yeah. Right? I was 10, but I started, trying to find out about all this music and, buying CDs and, just learning about it and listening to it. And I got my parents to buy me a harmonica, and the rest is history.
I think maybe we're fast forwarding a lot, but you not only did you teach yourself how to play harmonica par excellence at such a young age, and while all your other friends were listening to skate punk, and you're off wearing a double-breasted suit at a bar playing Little Walter tunes at age 11, you kind of have carried that spirit through into like branching out into playing guitar and playing drums and playing the organ, playing effectively all the instruments. And now you're also an accomplished recording engineer, mix engineer, and producer. It's pretty amazing. I remember when I first met you and you were a teenager, there was a story you told me that kind of marked for me that this is like, this is an ambitious person that we're dealing with, artistically speaking, because you had mentioned, and I think it was just when you were a teenager, that as I believe maybe an anniversary gift for your parents, you had made them an album.
Yeah.
Can you recollect that story?
Oh, wow. That's a deep cut.
It blew me away.
Yeah.
It still does.
So, when I was 16, I got the idea to my parents. Okay, let me preface this by my parents have always been huge supporters, and they recognized the dedication and passion that I've had for music, and they've tried to foster that without getting in the way or without co-opting my goals, because in this business, you meet many talented young people, and sometimes their parents can be overbearing,
right,
and annoying. And my parents, I think, knew this, and they were sensitive to the fact that they wanted to encourage my musical journey and sort of oversee it from a distance. They'd sit at the back of every bar that I was playing in with their eye on me, but they didn't want to get in my way with, interacting with other musicians, because I think they didn't want to be like hockey parents in music. So
yelling at the ref.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, which I really appreciate now, because now that I'm the old guy, I meet some very excited parents of very talented people, and it's
sure you do.
Anyway, they let me develop my own passion for it. They let me navigate social situations for myself to figure out for myself what works and doesn't work, while keeping a good eye on me and making sure I didn't get in any trouble.
It's beautiful.
Or anything like that. Now, so, and they came to be big fans of the music that they never really listened to blues in the house. They'd have like Rod Stewart Unplugged, which is a great record, by the way. But, my dad always loved country music, Hank Williams and Merle Haggard and George Jones, stuff like that.
Yeah.
More on that later. But so when I was 16, I got it. A friend of mine had opened a little recording studio, and I don't know where I got the idea, but I got the idea to make them an album of their favorite songs that I had played, because they always would tell me which was their favorite, right? So I did. I tapped pretty much everyone I knew in the Ottawa blues scene to come be part of it, and probably me and maybe 20 musicians made something like 14 songs. 13 of them were covers, and one was one that I wrote for them. And then I give it to them on Christmas Day, and they didn't understand. They thought that I had dubbed them a CD, like burned them a CD of the songs they like, right? Which they're like, oh, that's nice, thank you,
good gesture.
right?
Thanks, so.
But then they put it on, and they're like, wait a minute, is this you? And I was like, yeah. And they both started to cry. Everyone was crying, but Yeah, it was that was a lot of fun. You know, that was maybe my first time really producing a recording.
Right.
I mean,
right.
it sounds like a 16-year-old producing a recording, but the intention was it was really sweet.
Well, there's a straight line from your heart to mine. Everything you feel and I feel too. There's a straight line from your heart to mine, calling me back to you. Well, you know I'm always leaving to go out on the road, and sometimes you wish I'd just stay home. But there's one thing by now that you want to know, baby, I was born to roam. Honey, don't you worry, 'cause there ain't no need. Ain't but one woman in this world for me. I made a promise I intend to keep, and in time you will see. There's a straight line from your heart to mine. Everything you feel and I feel too. There's a straight line from your heart to mine, calling me back to you. And now we got the baby and the dog in the house, and life is looking different than before. And while some things change and some stay the same, babe, I never loved you more. Oh, honey, don't you worry, 'cause there ain't no need. Ain't no one woman in this world for me. I made a promise I intend to keep, and in time you will see that there's a straight line from your heart to mine. Everything you feel and I feel too. There's a straight line from your heart to mine, calling me back to you. There's a straight line from your heart to mine. Everything you feel and I feel too. There's a straight line from your heart to mine, calling me back to you. Oh yeah, there's a straight line from your heart to mine. Everything you feel and I feel too. There's a straight line from your heart to mine, calling me back to you. Calling me back to you. Oh, calling me back to you.
I know that you've had a lot of great musical friends who, maybe started as heroes and mentors and became, just good music pals of yours. And I'd love to ask you about a couple of them. Like, for instance, the great Colin James. You've been playing in Colin James' band for some years now, doing incredible work with him. I know that when you first encountered Colin James, there's a story about how you kind of approached him out of the blue at a previous stage in your life. And Colin also having been, kind of a child prodigy himself, growing up in Regina and playing like, Celtic mandolin and stuff. He was a little kid making great. So anyway, you're kind of, in some ways on parallel tracks. But could you tell us about that first encounter with Colin?
Yeah, it was like July 1998, and it was my first time attending the Ottawa Blues Festival. And this particular day, he was headlining the festival with the Little Big Band. The second Little Big Band record had come out that year, and he was touring that album. And so I had heard, my friend's father actually lent me the Big Band records because he thought I might like them. So, and I did. I loved that music, and that was maybe my first sort of snapshot of jump blues and that whole big horn section, but blues, not, the way Colin approaches it is with a lot of, like he does with everything. He's like really fiery and intense, and he can sing the hell out of that stuff. And of course, his guitar playing is fantastic too. But anyhow, so I was a big fan, and I was 13, and somehow I found myself backstage, and then I saw him, and I just went right up to him. And I had known that Kim Wilson from the Thunderbirds had played harmonica on the Bad Habits record. And so I went up to him and I said, "Hey, I love Kim Wilson. I can kind of play like him. You should get me up." And he was like, he said, "No, but I don't know, maybe one day, kid, kind of. But we chit chatted for a minute, and actually, a photographer from Ottawa captured the moment, and I have it on my phone. And in that frame, beyond me is Tony D.
What?
And I hadn't met him yet. We hadn't actually met, but he's in the photo.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness!
and so it's a really amazing photo, and it's amazing that someone captured that moment, because you can see me kind of going like this, and Colin's like. So I love that I have a snapshot of that moment, but no, I remember it clear as day.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I mean, it's amazing to think that was probably the first time we were in the room with Tony D, one of many thousands of rooms you've been in with Tony.
Many rooms.
With Matt and your bandmates and Monkey Junk. And that's an amazing story.
It's funny how life works.
It really is funny.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too, because now one of Colin's earliest mentors back in the day was a fellow named Big Dave McLean.
Oh yeah.
And give it up for Big Dave McLean.
Big time.
And I don't know how many are aware, but Big Dave McLean was just named a Juno Award winner in 2025 for his incredible latest album, which was co-produced by Steve Marriner and Jimmy Boskill, who are young, giant fans of Dave's. And not only co-produced it for him, but you guys, the two of you, played all the instruments on this album.
Almost. We had Jesse O'Brien play the piano.
That's right, of course.
But yeah,
Amazing
Jimmy
piano.
played bass on everything. I played drums and harmonica, and a little bit of guitar here and there. But
It's like the best blues drumming in 2025, and it's just kind of like a little asterisk to what you do. It's amazing. How about it for Big Dave McLean and Steve Marriner and Jimmy Boskill? They're incredible.
Thanks. Thank you.
And how good does that feel? Because not only is this a Big Dave McLean album, but it really sounds like a Big Dave McLean album. Like, he's made a whole lot of different, more eclectic sounding albums in the past, and he's got an amazing body of work. But like, this is a Big Dave McLean album, and it sounds like that was the intention.
All I could have hoped for. So let me tell you about the first time I heard Big Dave McLean. I was in Winnipeg, and we had a night off, and they told us to go to Times Change. It was a Sunday, and my favorite bar in the world is the Times Change High and Lonesome Club.
Best bar in the world. Yeah.
Corner of St. Mary and Main in Winnipeg. It is an amazing, amazing place. So I went there on a Sunday and heard Big Dave. He's been playing Sundays there for like 30 years or something like that.
Yeah,
so,
it's
or
close
more.
to 40.
It's insane.
And hosting a jam.
Yeah.
Like tough sledding, hosting jams and working with the young musicians through all their, growing pains.
Oh man, he's a shining light of that city.
Yeah.
And so that my first impression of Dave was hearing him play the way he plays. And if you've never heard Dave, I'll also say, I'm not sure I've met another musician or person who is more in love with blues music than Big Dave McLean is. I mean, you can tell it touches him on a level that maybe some people don't even have. Like, he's deep into it.
Yeah.
And so hearing him sing Muddy Waters and play his national steel guitar and sing with that kind of fire and passion, I'd never really heard anyone that close. I'd heard records and seen performers at festivals and stuff, but in that little juke joint that Times is, and I was like, okay, I have to meet this guy, and we became friends. And then I remember we did a gig a couple years later at in Regina for the Regina Winter Blues Festival. It was Big Dave and Monkey Junk, and then we just stayed friends. And I kept going to Times on Sundays when I'd be passing through. So, and I'd heard a lot of his other recorded music, and I always kind of thought, this doesn't sound like the Big Dave that I know.
Right.
With all due respect to
Great
the
records.
recordings,
Yeah.
absolutely. But to me, it didn't. I wanted to try and capture what I felt when I first heard Dave in that room. And so, when Dave came to Ontario to our studio, we get to the studio, and he's like, "So, what do you want to do?" I'm like, "I don't know, Dave. What do you want to do?" And he said, "Well, I don't know. No producers ever asked me." And I thought, well, that's a crime. Like, what do you want to do, man? And so he pulled out, he showed me a few songs that he had worked up, and some original material, and a couple, like we did a version of Honeybee by Muddy Waters, but a very different treatment.
Right.
Anyway, we made the whole record in 3 days, like something like 15 songs in 3 days. And it was so much, like, we only stopped laughing long enough to record music and then went back to laughing. Like, we did a gig or two when he was down there too, and I at one point had to pull over on a highway because I couldn't see because I was laughing so hard. He is one of the most entertaining human beings I've ever encountered. Anyway, all that to say, I'm very thrilled for Dave that he was recognized by the Juno Awards, of course, but what has made me the happiest is that other musicians from Winnipeg who've grown up with him much more closely than I have called me to be like, this is what Dave sounds like. And that kind of feedback means a lot. I don't want to say means more than awards, but it really truly does. Having that kind of validation from the people who know him best makes me feel pretty good.
Yeah, it's cosmically cool that that's the one that wins him the award, right?
Yeah.
After all these years, 71 years of age.
Yeah.
How about it for the great Steve Marriner, everybody? He's going to grab his marine bands, his guitar, and his incredible ensemble and entertain us. He's going to regale us, and we're going to dance the night away. And Steve, thank you so much for the joy this has been.
For me too, Grant. Thanks so much.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
Hear my heart.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks for being here, everybody. Stick around, have some fun.
Tired of dragging these old bones around. Love and loss have worn my body down. The sun is low, fading from the sky. I close my eyes and let my spirit fly. 'Cause I'm hell-bound for heaven, going home to stay. Hellbound for heaven, and I'm on my way. Life's a river winding to the sea, and now I sail into eternity. Forgive me not for who, but what I've been. Bow your head and pray they let me in. 'Cause I'm hellbound for heaven with angels all around. Hellbound for heaven, hand me my crown. Hellbound for heaven, I'm going home to stay. Hellbound for heaven, and I'm on my way. Oh, I'm on my way. Say goodbye, but don't you cry for me. There's no dying, I'm already free. Hellbound for heaven with angels all around. I'm hellbound for heaven, hand me my crown. I'm hellbound for heaven, we're going home to stay. Hellbound for heaven, and I'm on my way. Oh, I'm on my way. Yes, I'm on my way. Oh, I'm on my way. Thank you. Thank you very, very much.